here, my Pythagorean says, but that's to rhyme and sound like the Jackson 5.
Oh, wait. I know. Something that's easy and fun. Rise over run. That's what
Ooh. I might let us say the word easy, because that's a fun rhyme. What? That's a fun rhyme. Rise over run is easy and fun.
No, it's simple.
There's children around.
All right.
You can say it's simple and fun.
Have fun at practice.
Two things. First of all,
Two things.
I forgot the first thing I read. Oh, easy. The word easy needs to be thought of as a comparative word. Easier than something else.
See, we're allowed to say easier.
Not just easy. But I abbreviate easier to be easy. Anyway, second thing, just as a preview for next year for you.
Yeah, you need to be rated F.
Do you know what the pirate said on his 80th birthday?
I have a bucket of dirt.
What
I'm
did
dead.
the pirate say on his 80th birthday?
I died of service.
I've heard this.
Maybe.
Oh.
I'm out.
On that groan.
Alright, so we're doing
Just leave!
He's back. Alright, so let's check homework. 724 is due today. 724 is due today. If you already turned it in, I guess you already turned it in. I have some to give back. So while you're checking 724, let me pass these back. All you awesome people. If you got turned into your Chapter 6 Holiday Cheer Celebration of Learning, Mastery, you want to do that? Get that turned into me as soon as you can, please. Colin, what's up?
the East Coast of Jiggly.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Like 5 people are talking.
East, the Pythagorean thing, this one actually helped me on the math test.
Nice.
Because I was like, hold on.
Hey guys, why do some of you look like you have forgotten that we use graph paper every day and that you're supposed to be pulling in homework sheets?
No, it's green. It's glorious.
You gotta be stuck on like graph paper.
What's it?
Now you're not here.
GP glorious.
So as you guys can see, I switched up my seating a little bit because at this point, I think we are probably mature enough that we can handle groups of 4. And if we can't, I'll just move individual people. But I was feeling like the amount of groups we had was just awkwardly one too many. Right? My group felt crowded over here. So this let us take one of those groups and merge it into 3 other groups. But like Amelia is showing, it does still allow, especially as people are absent, that some people are potentially alone. So Amelia, feel free to move and go to another group that has space at it if you do not want to be alone. That is up to you. Oh no. Gravity works. I am because I ripped things apart, but you'll probably get all of them back right now.
Why exactly is there a box of...
That's
supposed to be the bone. It's bone. Are we doing that?
Did Anna go home?
I think they're still math testing.
Oh, she's still testing.
She only got 15 questions done.
Yeah, it's because she's Anna. Anna's a lot like an 8th grader that I have named Akshay, who cares a lot about everything. And I think is reaching that breaking point of saying, like, forget it. Like, I don't care anymore. And that's what I warned Anna about earlier in the year. I said, you can't care 100% about every single thing.
Well, she does.
You'll just go crazy.
Take a little bit.
when she said watch me, and then she didn't stop.
Yeah, she really hasn't stopped. So, since this is recorded, I don't need to spend a lot of time on this unless somebody has a question they want to ask, something that was confusing for you. So, anyone have questions that you want to ask, or should we just go ahead and talk about the lesson? Jake?
For 796, for B, it says plus 7. I don't know if it's meant to be here or something. I don't know.
724, 76.
The plus 7 is just like the number 7. It doesn't really
So it is showing you that there's a length of x and a length of 7. I don't know why this one has plus, whereas the other ones don't. But this just means what would be the area inside of here. So fill in the empty sections to find the area of each part. and then take the area of the entire rectangle. So this is going to push us to say we can't combine non-like terms. So 7 times 13, 70 plus another 21, so 91. So that's how they get 13x plus 91, or 91 plus 13x, because I cannot combine these non-like units. But it would be units squared, because we're talking area. Aiden?
Those questions remind me of like the generic rectangle thing.
Yeah, this especially. This is essentially a generic rectangle. Yep. Amelia?
How did you get the negative 3/4 on 773?
73. I'm surprised that I left kind of the multiple choiceness here. Although the reason I did is because all of these are common trap doors. So like Mr. Hall was just saying, because I think he was surprised when he came over here and I was talking about lattice points. He was like, oh, I don't even care about that. Which, you guys, as I teach, I kind of like what I care about changes a little bit. But from this lattice point, the next good looking lattice point is right here. And if I draw that triangle and compare rise to run, easy and fun. The rise is negative 3. The run is 4.
Okay, so yeah,
That is not allowed. I'm sorry, but no.
So the reason I was confused is because yesterday we did that whole thing with like the thing like
Slope?
the 1 and the 2 and
Yeah.
then, like the
So what
the
you're
thing,
talking
like,
about,
switch around.
hold on, because some people weren't here. What you're talking about is this, right?
Yeah.
So that would work here. I could use that here. My 2 points are 1, 0 is that first point, and 5, negative 3. So guys, check this out. Like Max, stop talking. I don't care that you don't have your worksheet in front of you or not. Knock it off. The chain, if I call this point 1 and this point 2, my subtraction would be negative 3 minus 0 and then 5 minus 1. Or we can say, okay, what's my change in x? What's my change in y? So if I do negative 3 minus 0 and then 5 minus 1, this would be negative 3 over 4.
Why is it rise over run now, not run over run? On that one, it looks like negative. Yeah, what about like that run over rise, like that whole
Run
thing?
over rise never happens. It's always rise over run.
Why did I think you switched that one?
You never moved the ladder.
I don't know. I mean, we can go back to the video evidence. I guarantee max 1,000,000.
Right.
Do you need to go take a walk, dude?
No.
If you need to, go take a walk and get a drink, but you cannot continue doing what you're doing.
Okay, but for some reason I thought you switched them, and so that got me all confuzzled.
Nope, always rise over run.
Okay.
That
now
should have
I
been in your
understand.
notes from yesterday. You can write it down again if you want to concrete it in your head. Rise over run. It's slanty and fun. Can I say that?
Thank you.
Any other questions from 724? And it's right here also. Amelia, not trying to pick on you, but it's also right here.
Oh.
Vertical change over horizontal change. Change in y over change in x.
Are you even when you said the thing, when I thought you said the switchy thing with a run over rise? I don't know
So-
how I got that in my mind.
What I think you misheard, and everyone should hear this again. What I think Amelia misheard was it doesn't matter which point is 1 and which point is 2. Let me show you an example. I'll use this to show the example, but I'm going to hope it refocuses. So I use this point as point 1 and that point as point 2. Let's turn them around. If I use this as point 1 and this as point 2, it's y2 minus y1, right? So 0 minus negative 3. x2 minus x1. 1 minus 5, right? 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, right? From point 2, point 1. This becomes positive 3 over negative 4, which is the same thing.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter which point is 1 or 2, but it does matter that y's are on top, x's are on bottom. Thank you for asking that, because if that was still confusing, that's definitely worth talking about. If you have nothing right here, it's going to be super obvious you didn't do what I asked. Guys, this, for me, is extremely frustrating when people skip parts of my homework because I put the extra effort into making these into worksheets and getting you graph space as part of your worksheets. Like, this is like 5 years into CPM of me trying to make your life easier. Please don't make me like get real frustrated and say, I literally I made it as easy as possible. Yeah. I made it as not difficult as possible, and yet you're like, oh, I don't want to do that part. Come on, guys. Work with me. Otherwise, we can go back to just doing homework out of the book if we want. Our lesson today relates to proportional equations, and you have a great section at the top of your notes to remind you about proportional equations. Colin, question? No, because it's just now tonight's homework, so no, not going to show answers for that today. Sorry. If you have a specific question you want me to talk about, we probably can at the end of class since we just haven't talked about these things yet. Is that like, are you asking because you've already worked on 725? So you're in the future. I don't take questions about the future. Because who can predict the future? Nobody.
Nobody yet.
All right, so Mr. Mears was running for mayor of Atlanta. Blah, 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 blah. So they did some polling, right? Your parents may be annoyed about this when, not this specific problem, but when it's near election season, people go door to door and do polling. People do polling at the grocery stores. People will call you and do polling because your number is on the internet, at least if you own property. And even if you rent property, I think a lot of times your number is like public information. So one afternoon, pollsters, the people that are doing the polling, are called pollsters. I've always felt like it's kind of an interesting name. Pollsters call 100 random potential voters. And 68 people indicated that they would vote for Mr. Mears. So if instead pollsters had called 50 people, how many would we predict, right? We know this won't necessarily happen, but how many would we predict that would be on the side of Mr. Mears? Renal, you want to talk us through how to figure that out? What's a proportion? Something equal to something, right? What's the something and the something? Why can't I put my 50 here, Amelia? Oh, well, you just got up. I can put you back in the deck if you want. Lily, why can't I put my 50 here?
That's one of the numbers that's changing, but rather than like they did say that this time they if interviewed a different number and they got 50 people, they said we interviewed 50 people now. How many?
Keep talking.
So basically,
When we first started working with proportions, we had labels for everything like dollars or gallons or miles or whatever. But both of these are people. So the label is really people that voted for Mr. Mears versus our total. So 50 has to go here with our total, right? This review probably feels a bit basic for us. So if we do that math, it'd be 34. Now, if the math isn't nice, and this is where some of you are probably not paying attention. If the math isn't nice, there's a way that always works to solve this. Work with your team. Figure out how many people would we expect to vote for Mr. Mears if on today we call 327 people. Go. No, you got at least calculate it. I wrote that up there because Gus asked that to me. We'll talk about it in a second, but I only wrote it because Gus asked it.
So what does it? So it's divided by something, right? So what is that something?
Wait, can there be half
I feel like
people?
we can scoot back a little bit, but we almost don't need to.
Is there three half people?
We would round, right? So we would do something to round it. So Nevin, what'd your group do? You what? What do you mean the numbers? Be more specific.
Well, I did is I used 68% and multiplied that by 27.
What do you mean 68%? Because my calculator doesn't have a percent button.
I used 0.6.
Ah, so Gus asked, can I just write down 68%? And I said, of course not. We need like an actual number. So Nevin's saying if we punch in 0.68, be careful punching your calculator. Sometimes it punches back. Times 327, what'd you get then?
222 pieces.
Did that? So that was rounded off. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a decimal, but we rounded it. 'Cause-
36%.
Yeah, there's no partial people, right? There's a purple people eater, but there's no partial people. Well, unless the purple people eater doesn't do it. You guys probably don't. You probably don't even know the song I'm talking about. So, here's where we use this to apply to any situation. What Gus said is true, and what Nevin just said is true. Although we want to set it up in an equation. We want to know the favorable voters equals, and how could we write this in an equation manner, Jake?
Oh,
Yeah, it's your card.
wow. So you could do. Oh, let me think about this.
It's essentially what we just said. We just got to write it differently.
You could do x divided by 100 to get 2%.
Ooh, you're trying too hard.
Oh, okay.
You're not wrong, but you're trying too hard. Because we want to be able to just do one thing. May I? I almost can't say no because you asked so politely. But Grant's card is next, and I'm trying to use cards to make sure we talk with everyone. Grant, you got an idea of how I could write this out, like what Gus and Nevin just had me do, but in like an equation format? What we're trying to do, let me help you out a tiny bit more, is make this look similar to this, but all of it might not be necessary. But that's our standard equation. Literally, if you look up standard equation, that pops up. That's our like algebraic standard equation.
Are you looking up what?
You can always pass. If I've made, different question now. If I've made my Y favorable votes, and that's the output, my X is probably going to be max, right?
What's that? Yeah.
Oh, your output would probably be.
No, you 100% did not hear the question. Would you like me to repeat it for you? Dismantle
Your
your...
favorable votes, you have to write it in an algebraic form. If your favorable votes was the Y, then the X would be 68.
X is a variable. Remember, X is going to vary as we change this problem. That 68%, I don't think that's going to vary.
For every person called, would that be X?
So X is our total voters, right? So our output, and you guys might want to start writing these things down, our output is always going to be Y. Y always operates as our output until math decides to flip things on its head, and then it just reverses the input and output. But all you need to know is Right now, we always use y as the output. The input here, well, since the output is favorable votes, we know the input is total people called or total people voting. Sorry, somebody said something. I think I heard a but why. Grant? You with me or no? It's okay if you're not with me, but you got to speak up.
Remember, at any time if you're feeling any sort of confusion, just blurt out immediately and cause them to stop everything.
You're not going to give me anything? I want you guys to ask these questions. If you're going to correct me on standard equation, I'm going to throw your computer in the hallway. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of right ways to get to Florida. That's a rearrangement of this equation. Close your computer.
Smart pants.
Don't argue with somebody with a math degree. So what we're going to write here is favorable votes based off the data we collected. We just said is 0.68, or you could say 68 out of 100 if you're a fan of fractions. You could say 68 out of 100, or you could say 0.68 times x plus, unless we're cheating, there shouldn't be any extras added or taken away. We are assuming that 68% of the people do this. Now this, similar to what Smarty Pants just looked up, can be written in y equals kx, y equals mx, y equals ax. It doesn't matter what you call the thing in front of the x. What matters... Okay, no.
You said it doesn't matter. It's the same.
Did you know y equals y?
That's x squared then.
But then it would be.
That is correct.
What you need to know so that we can talk in standard vocabulary is that the coefficient of x is your slope. Your coefficient of x is your slope. Okay, I'm going to walk around in 20 seconds and see if people have stuff on their paper. So if you don't, now's your chance to fix that.
Oh wait, I'm right down.
So I got people talking in the hallway. I got people shouting out questions from all over the place. Amelia, what now?
No, I was just wondering if you could scroll up because I drew the arrow pointing to x and then you scrolled down and so I was never able to write what it said.
Total.
Okay.
Well, actually, what we should really,
But there was stuff added.
what we should have said, this is my bad, is really the input. But in this situation, our input's going to be the total. The total people that we call. Yeah, the total people that we call. Or talk to.
I mean, just like.
Because seriously, you'll see people with tables set up outside of grocery stores and whatever. And the goal is, if you talk to a bunch of people, it should represent the votes that'll come in. But you need a diverse poll. So if everyone who shops at Kroger is all Republicans, I don't know why that would happen, your poll is going to be biased, right? You got to watch out for biases. So, if I got two different questions to ask you.
What?
If 350,125 people show up to vote in the election, how many do we assume voted for Mr. Mears?
Wait, how many people?
It's on the board highlighted.
It is. How many people? Alright. Let's plug this in. 1 second.
Aw, Anna's still not in here with us. Patrick, you got a calculator in your hands. You do it.
I'm a slow writer. Wait, what was the number?
350,125.
It's 200,030. I don't know. That's not 20.
What?
238,000. What's the number again?
Y equals, we would write 0.68 times 350,125. Geez, Anna decided to guys show up finally.
Woo! Somebody's actually here.
So 0.68 times 350, 125.
238. Dang it. I don't know how to say that number. And it has 8.
What?
Then 0.85.
0.85.
Okay, 238,085. Yeah.
Hold on. Trickier question though. If, and I'd maybe draw a squiggly line or something because this is a totally different question. If, ignore everything else they said. If, ooh, actually, I should have had you ignore. I want to ask an honest question. Do you guys notice that, like, at least daily and multiple times a day, when I'm in the middle of trying to pose a question, other people start talking? Does it bother anybody else? Because, like, I can just as easily keep doing what I'm doing because I've been at this for 10 years and getting interrupted as part of middle school. But if you're one of those people that likes to, like, blurt things out in the middle of me talking, realize that, like, your classmates just said it's annoying. If, because this was the less difficult part to solve, but if we get told that actually this 351.25 was not how many total people voted, it was how many people voted for Mr. Mears. How many people voted in the election? See if you can figure this out, because it's a backward solving, essentially. If that's actually how many people voted for Mr. Mears, how can we figure out? Of course we need a calculator. We're working with like 300,000 here.
That's a lot of people.
I don't have that many. I mean, when you think of how many people are in the world.
Man, if only there was a place you could solve the problem of not having a calculator.
Where?
They wouldn't let us.
The box of calculators over on my desk.
I know.
Well, that's not my fault. Question or answer?
Oh.
How's her? Oh, because I skipped over you. Amelia, do you know how this one is different to solve than the other one?
Well, the other one, you're multiplying it by a decimal, but this one you're trying to get, like, back up to it. So I'm thinking, like, you're trying to multiply by 68, but, like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, if we do that times 68, we're going to get a really big number. Brenda? I don't know, I'm asking you guys. I don't know what to do here. Maggie's not here. Aiden? Can anyone, like, really what I want to know is, can anyone help me set this up? Not even do you have the answer. Aiden, can you help me set this up?
If you, I mean, my default thinking was divide, but like that wouldn't really get you.
Divide what? Like, why? Can you, we got to set it up before I can figure out if it's right or wrong.
Something into the 0.68 to make it.
Jordan? You got to help me set it up before we get to the answer, though.
You multiply that number by 1.68.
No. That is not what we do, man. Walter? You're trying too hard. Sorry, like, what you're saying is not wrong. I will tell you, what you're saying is not wrong, but it's too difficult. It's overly complicated. Kind of like Jake earlier, where I kind of cut him off and said, like, you're making it too hard. Guys, I'm not even going to keep going through the cards. We'll get to that person in a second. We had, when we solved this, saying that that was our total people, we plugged it in for the X, because that was how many total people. But if this is now how many people actually voted for Mr. Mears, that's why. That's the output. They're giving us the answer We have to figure out what got us there. So we plug in 350, 125 as the y. You might want to put this on your paper, especially since like half of you didn't know what to do. And we still use that 0.68. But now we're trying to solve for the unknown total voters. Grant?
Divide the big 3,000 number divided by 0.68.
Why are you doing that?
Because we'll revert back to the original number.
Because you'll get X all alone. And you know, if they're your X, they probably deserve to be alone. But
Anything about your exes?
I don't know. My one X was not very nice to me, so I don't know. I'm kind of bitter about them. My other X's are fine, and actually, the one X still works at the bank where my dad works, so it's funny. What? I don't know who said wait, but then Lily said question, so. Round it to the closest person.
Wait.
Brenda?
We have to divide everything, so we have to divide X.
So, thank you for saying that. You guys, a lot of you keep getting stuck in this thought that multiplication and division needs to be split up. That, Max, you want to come teach this for me? Go ahead.
So,
you're talking over me. Explain why it doesn't get split up.
they aren't like separate. It isn't X and 0.68. You can't see. These aren't different.
What do you mean they're not different? One's a variable and one's a number.
But it's a variable of X, which means it's how many
It's a
X's
variable of X.
are in it.
When would we have to split the division?
Stop it. Stop touching. Stop touching. Stop touching. Stop touching.
See, we're getting to the point in the year where if you want to talk over me, you get to come up and try to teach. Which some of you are like, yeah, I'll do that, and other ones
I
are
mean,
like,
I
nah.
understand it, and I think I can explain it, and I
know I
think I kind of did.
Since we were putting it in parentheses, it's messing with my head.
But yeah, I do have to admit, it is confusing to have 0.68 times X. That makes it look like they're different. It's how many X's there are. So that would be, even though it's a fraction, that would be like that many X. That's the X.
Thank you, Max.
You're right, but I need to clean some of this up and
Thank you.
jump back in. You are right. Here's the deal. The only time that we would split that division is if this was added or subtracted. If arithmetic is what holds these together, they are two separate terms. What Max was trying to say is terms.
I was trying to say terms.
This would be a number and this would be a variable. They're not separate terms here. They're one term that is a partial x. So what this is saying, what Max was trying to draw, is if you think about your x tile, like the algebraic tiles that we've been talking about, we only actually have 0.68 of the x tile. We're trying to figure out what's the entire x tile. So that's why we divide by 0.68. This, I know Max probably avoided this on purpose. This is getting us back to 1x. And when we do that division, thank you, Max. I'm so glad you led us to the giant one. What does this come out to be?
Max, where are you coming in? Please come to the office. Please come to the office.
5.
14890. Because that's rounded.
When you divide by a number less than 1, you get bigger. Column.
So basically, if the two things are bad terms, and they break up and become the giant one.
Are you just trying to make a relationship joke? Okay, we got to move on. Gus?
Okay, so I figured it out. So at the beginning one, where we divided the where we got the 2 over 327.
2. Okay.
I know. it had 0.36. And then when we divided this one, it had a 0.7.
Okay. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Because if you add that together, then it's 7, 2, 9. It has.
What were you trying to explain there?
Okay. So you got a 0.7 here in this equation. And then you got the 0.3 up here.
All right. Let's pick on Anna some more because that's fun.
Yay!
So Anna is practicing writing her name. And
Practicing. What is she to practice for?
well, that's how she got so good. That's how she got so good. So Anna figures out that she can write her name 17 times in 2 minutes. So then Anna tells us, yeah, and I wrote my name 85 times total.
Whoa!
How long did Anna spend writing her name to make it look as beautiful as it is?
You need to have a line.
I mean, come on, well, I don't want to say the last name on it, but her last name's kind of long, so I mean, come on, it would take a little bit. Try to solve this on your own. Do it.
Yeah, what?
Already?
Oh, it's not about her. What did you say?
Okay, why?
Oh, that's a really nice
How
number.
could you write
That's
her
a
name
really
in 3.5 seconds?
What?
Okay, she does like fancy handwriting for her name, and if she do 17 per minute, then she could do 3.5 seconds. Oh yeah.
Hey,
7 seconds. That's
no, it's not 7 seconds. Like 17 per 2 minutes.
now 7 seconds to write her name.
Oh yeah, you know why though? Well,
Do we know, / have we been told, what's the X and what's the Y?
the Y is.
Yes.
So, when we build equations, we need our equation to be y equals mx. Could we also set up an equation that is x equals my? Sure, but then x is just my, and that's not a funny joke. But seriously, we gotta set it up like this. So what we gotta ask ourselves is, what does this m need to do to make this true? Here's the thing, and you should probably write this down. What m is, and this will help explain why we did what we did yesterday.
Why we found Y.
How can we make y equal to x with this m? Exactly. That's what we're trying to answer. So our m, we know what our m is. Y over x. Because, guys, think about this. This, if I make x over 1, this would be yx over x. And what is yx divided by x? It's y. This is y. This is y slope is y over x. So we have to decide what's our y and what's our x. Here's how we decide. When we graph things, what did we say is almost always the x-axis? Time. If we're involving time, time is almost always our x-axis. Dollars per hour, dollars per hour, or like feet per minute, or like whatever. It's always time. So, if we go up to Anna's information, 17 times. Now, guys, don't complicate this. Yes, the word times is not time. Our time is 2 minutes. Right? So 17 over 2 tells us, oh yeah, this also spits out our unit rate. This is like 8.5, right? And that would be names per minute. Do you hear yourself? Because I definitely hear yourself.
My brain kind of just turned off for a bit. And
I can tell. So, we now set up y is equal to 8.5x, but now
For new PX, could you please have Rachel Ogden to the office? Rachel Ogden, please come to the office. Thank you.
y is going to be how many times she can write her name when x is the input of minutes.
Well, wouldn't why we just put 85?
If Anna tells us she wrote her name 85 times, and then we set equal to 8.5 times x, what would x have to be? 10. So we know that there's some point on our graph, 1085, that shows that if Anna spends 10 minutes practicing her name, she can write it 85 times. And y'all are just jealous because her handwriting looks better than pretty much anyone else.
I think she needs an intervention.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but all right, get out of here. That is even more than I should have taken. Hey, do your homework. Remember, the homework contest ends this week. You don't know what day did it, but the homework contest ends. Do your homework. And yo, if you did not turn in homework today, remember you had homework due today. 724. 724 is due. By the end of extensions, 724.
Yes!
I don't like sir.
It's like, okay, because
Sir, yes, sir.